Let them know the leaks so low. I go based on tunes. Let them know me can call. I can never make that choice. Want it, tell them I want it, 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 I want it. Tell them I want it, 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 want it, I want it. Tell them I want it, 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 I want it. Tell them I want it.
All right, episode 2, what's cracking, man? Welcome to the How to Sell Dope podcast.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you being on. Today's guest is Sycosis, dope artist. Actually, I met not too long ago through a mutual friend of ours. And you know, immediately when I talked to him, he had like all this knowledge about sync, and that's something that's, you know, I think especially for artists that don't want to do artisting, I think. People that don't want to like tour, people that got kids, and you know what I'm saying, and just kind of need to have like a regular lifestyle, but also make money with their music. I feel like sync is that option. But we gonna get into that. But first, I kind of just want to get your background, because I heard, you know, music that you've put out for sync, but I also heard like music that you've released yourself, and I believe you are also a part of. You're nominated for a 312 award, so I want to talk about that.
Yes, sir.
But first, let's just talk about how you got started in music.
Man, so first of all, salute to everybody watching How to Sell Dope podcast, and appreciate you having me. My name is Eric Roberts, but I go by Sycosis. I started when I was 12 years old, officially. One of my older cousins was MC, another one was into tagging. And, you know, Chicago had a very rich, you know, hip hop community at the time, and we grown up watching Twister and Do or Die and Christian Conflict and Snipers and Triple Darkness and Soldiers at War. The list goes on and on, psychodrama. But I started, you know, when I was in 6th grade, just, you know, playing around. And then by the time I got to like freshman year of high school, it was something like I really wanted to do. It was something like where I saw how it was, you know, changing things and people around me, because, you know, if you have the ability to freestyle in the lunchroom and get people attention, and it was like, oh, wait, y'all care about that I just said? Oh, y'all cheering for me? Bet. So that's kind of how it started. And it's just developed from there, you know, a true grassroots, you know, artist upbringing to, you know, recording professional albums, filming videos, doing our own independent tour at one point, and now doing songs for television and film and sync, which is where we at now.
That's dope. That's dope. So can you freestyle?
I can freestyle, man. You know, it's not as sharp as it used to be.
If I put you on the spot right now, if I play a beat.
I was definitely gonna hit you with the freeway. Hey, put a beat on. Hey, put a beat on. But yeah, no, it's definitely something that's still in my toolbox. I can still jump down if I need to.
I never had that skill, man. I never had that. I can free. You know what? If I had like the right amount of like whiskey or beer, you know what I'm saying? If I was if I had the right buzz, sometimes I can get a hot like 3 or 4 bars. You know what I'm saying? But that's about it on the freestyling tip. I need to write. I'm a good writer though.
So here's the trick. Think of your first line, right? So your first line that's gonna make everybody react right away. You know what I mean? And it's better if that first line is something that everybody in the room could obviously like visually see, right? So y'all ain't really for real. Everything you say is cap. You keep talking, I put money on your head like that C on your cap. You know, something like that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Where now I'm gonna get the reaction immediately from the crowd, because they know I just thought of that, even though, you know, I might have thought of it 30 seconds before I said it. Right. But I was sitting there thinking of how I'm gonna say that, and then you just ride the energy from there. You know, that's my trick. You know, that's one of them. You know, and you can keep seeing where it go from there.
No, you're right.
Even if you don't say nothing else that matters, they can remember that. And you be like, oh, you snap. I said gibberish for the next 30 seconds on your mouth.
Facts. I think that's it. Just have the confidence to keep going no matter what it is.
That's this whole journey. That's this whole story today. You know what I'm saying?
Big facts. So, so like you are nominated, recently nominated for the three. What is the proper name of it? It's the 312 award, right?
312 Music Awards. I'm nominated for Album of the Year, along with some other dope artists. But the awards are not just for artists. They're nominating studios, promoters, clothing lines, radio personalities, DJs. So this will be the very first award show that they're hosting. This one, it's gonna be Sunday, March 12th, and like I said, it's gonna be not just artists. It's gonna be all kind of people involved in media around and in music, and not just hip hop either. You know, so you have singers and rappers nominated together in these award categories. You know what I mean? And producers from all over genres. So it's pretty dope.
That's dope. Is there any way? How can people vote for you?
So if you go to 312 Music Awards website, you can Google it and you can find me. They have like a Google spreadsheet, so you can't just vote for me. You got to vote for 50 people no matter what. I have my auntie call up and play like, who are these other 49 people? I'm like, I don't, I know some of them, auntie. I don't know. Just keep going till you get to my name.
Damn. Okay. But you have to check a box for each one.
Yeah, which is actually good in my opinion. That means that everybody's gonna at least get a fair shot to get voted on.
Yeah.
You can vote for me. I'm nominated. My album Mostly Me 3 is nominated for Album of the Year, which came out just about a year ago, actually. It's about end of January last year. Okay. Yeah, top of the year. That's how I want to kick off my year last year, and I got something similar in mind for this year. So
can you
follow that plan through?
I was like, can you let us in on the secret? What you got for this year?
Well, sync is a big part of it. So sync, I look at it as like part of a rollout strategy, you know what I mean, for independent artists. If you don't have a label and if you're not signed, you pretty much got like 3 ways you can put out music in a rollout. One is you could just drop it and be like, hey, everybody go check me out, and 0 people will check it out. 2 is you can clout chase to get some attention behind your name. So you can start a beef, you can, get the money phone, you can buy a bunch of stuff that you don't actually have and rent it and make it look like you got money, and you can use that to drop your project. And then the third one is if you have some legitimate strategy where it's there's a famous artist, there's photography, there's a video coming, and sync is one where even that strategy takes money. And if you can't do any of those, sync works best, because sync is a way where you're leveraging your relationship with another company, a brand, a commercial, a TV show, a film, or advertisement. And that song being on your album, that could be like your intro to the world of this music. So my plan is to create a bunch of songs, get them licensed, and then also release them as EPs or albums, or parts of EPs and albums throughout the year.
Okay, hold on, because you just made that sound very, very simple. Now I want to pick your brain, because you just said I want to create some songs, a bunch of songs, and then get them licensed, kind of like as a matter of fact. So walk me through, and whoever else is watching this or hearing this, walk me through that process. How do you go about getting your songs licensed?
It's not something that's a few-minute explanation, but the short version of it is, first you have to have radio quality music. So that means that all of your songs have to be mixed and mastered. And then secondly, radio also means usually you need a clean version and instrumental version of your songs. So you got to start there. And you're not using the MP3, you are using the WAV or AIF file. You're an engineer, so you can explain what that means to these people. So every artist listening, make sure you go into the studio with a hard drive, or at least a Google Drive. Please have one or the other, or both. It's free now for cloud services. So make sure you leave. And now this is not just on the artist, because a lot of engineers don't do this either because they're used to artists not asking for it. So make sure you leave the studio with a WAV version or AIF version of the full explicit song, the instrumental, and any clean version. So that's number one. That's step one.
You definitely
make sure
should do
they're
that.
mixed and matched.
You definitely should do that. I always send the WAV and the MP3 of songs that I mix fully. I'll just send the MP3 if it's a rough mix, and instrumentals and clean versions in that we normally do after the fact because it's never thought of in the studio. But the fact that you just said that, now I'm gonna make sure that I push that a little bit harder to make sure we get those done, because
because in my mind it's like
later.
Yeah, it's extra money, it's extra time, and sync is very quick. So if they want to use that song, they need the files right now. You also want to try your best to have songs that were tracked out when you recorded them, because they might ask for the stems. Now again, if you rapping on a budget, I know you might have went to YouTube and just put it off YouTube, or you might go to somewhere like BeatStars and just license it. But when you go into the studio, one in general usually makes the mix better if they have more to choose from when they're mixing. But for sync, you also want the tracked out version of the beat, because they're going to ask for it in some cases, not just the instrumental. Especially if they want to trailerize it, which means like, you know, if you're thinking about like an action movie, or take like Wakanda Forever, for example, that just came out. You watch the trailer to that movie, or the new Ant-Man movie that's about to come out, right? You see how dramatic it is, and it's doom, 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 doom. They're going to add all these dramatic effects to it to make it bigger. So they might take your song and use the stems to do that. So step number one is what you need to do in the studio to be ready, and that's having all those files.
Okay, and that's the WAV or the AIFF, and you want to make sure that you have a clean version and an instrumental version of the song, as well as you can use YouTube beats if that's where you at with your budget, but ideally you want to have the stems. You want to pay for the track out version of beats. So you can use a YouTube beat, but you're going to run into this problem. They're going to ask you the publishing information of the producer. And if you don't have it, you can't do anything with it. So doesn't matter if that's where you first heard it, but you might want to go back to YouTube, send that DM, send that email and say, hey, bro, listen, I like this track. I want to buy it from you, or at least license it from you. Let's make something work. I need all of these files. Okay, now, you just said the publishing, like we got to walk before we crawl, or crawl before we walk. You said the publishing information. What exactly is the publishing information for the producer that they may need? API number or IPI number? Yeah, so you need what's called, man, we finna hit them with a lot of lingo, man. You need what's called a PRO, Performance Rights Organization, right? That's what ASCAP is, that's what BMI is, that's what CSAC is for people that are in the US. Outside of the US, they have different companies that all do something similar. So it all depends on where you are in the world or which one you're going to use. Right. Ideally, you want to register as a writer and a publisher, right? Because every song, to make it simple, so you can get all of the money instead of half of it that you do. Because every song has a copyright share and a master share. And I don't want to get too technical, but the long story short, you get paid as who wrote it, and then you get paid as basically who's the publisher, who's the distributor for this. And you have the ability to be both of those entities. So why wouldn't you be, right? And then everybody who registers, you know, and is involved with the song that you're trying to pitch for sync, you need to have their information, right? So you need to know, hey, what's your full legal name? What's your IPI number that BMI or ASCAP or CSAC has? And then what's your publishing company's name? And what's their IPI number? And then take it a step further, you need to put this in writing in what's called a split sheet. That says, preach. Me and you made this track together. We both agree that this track is fire, and we both would like it to get on TV and film. However, in order to do that, we need to agree on who gonna make what. Exactly. So people do splits a lot of different ways, but what I've seen, which I at first I thought was weird, but now I think it's fair. A lot of people who do sync for a living, they just divide it by however many people involved. So if it's one, you know, rapper and a producer, we go 50-50. If it's a rapper, a singer, and a producer, then we all take, you know, a third.
you know, and so on and so forth. So they just split it straight in half, and everybody who's on the song get an equal share of the song. So you can literally Google split sheets or hit me up. You know, I can talk to you about split sheets and how they work. But so we have step 2. That's publishing, right? You got to know, you got to have, these songs need to be registered and ideally copywritten before you even get to the point of syncing them. The copyright part is, you can sort of do that later if you need to, but certainly you can register a song. The second you leave the studio, you can register the song. So make sure every song that you submit is registered, and you got everybody information, and you got a split sheet, because some companies, sync licensing companies or music publishers, they will not take your song without a split sheet. So
I know.
All depends on who you're talking to.
I had a situation once where someone had contacted me for a song that I did like maybe 2014, 2013, and they needed, like you said, quick turnaround. They needed a song by that night, and I didn't have a split sheet, so I wasn't able to have proof of ownership of the song, like who had, because it was a sample involved, but the person I sampled was signed to a label, and you know what I'm saying? So, but it was a homie, but because they were signed to a label and stuff like that, we needed to have proper paperwork, and I wasn't able to produce that. So definitely get your paperwork together.
You just brought up a good point. Something for the producers and the artists to know is typically 9 out of 10 times samples will not work in sync. So if that track is a sample, take it out. Or even not just a straight sample, even what do you call, like Splice and programs like that, where you have, you know, these like public access music samples. Even those can be problematic unless you alter it to a point that's different from the original sound. Because other people could be using that same sound to create a melody around it, and then they go copyright it or YouTube content ID it, and now you got a problem. So, you know, keep that in mind.
So you got to reverse that joint. You got to pitch it up or pitch it down or do something to make it sound different, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Sorry, my dog was a little crazy.
It's all good. Yo, the last episode we had a cat that wanted some showtime. Now he got a dog that needs some showtime. So it is what it is. But yeah, man, I hope y'all paying attention to that. Oh, you good? I hope y'all paying attention to that, man, because this is something that I preach all the time in the studio. I talk split sheets. I talk at the very basics, just registering your music. If you ever want to have a sample cleared, you know what I'm saying? Like that process, you can find out who to contact to get the song clear by looking up their PRO information. Like I had a sample clear once, and I was able to find the artist and their publishing company on ASCAP, because all of that stuff is public information. So I'm going through that right now. Believe it or not, I have a record. It's not a sample. It's an interpolation, which is another term. If you're a songwriter, artist, this is not just stuff the producer needs to know. You need to understand these concepts too. Interpolation is when it's not a sample, but they play instruments similar to the original song that you're using. So I have a song that we were pitching for Bel Air, which is, you know, the reimagined version of Fresh Prince, you know, the more hood urban version. Yeah. And it's a lot more like aggressive song, because the show, if you've seen it, is not, you know, the happy-go-lucky version like the original was with Will Smith. So anyway, the producer just so happened to have a song where he did the interpolation of the original Fresh Prince of Bel Air soundtrack. And so right now, I'm going through the process to officially get Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff. If y'all watching, go ahead and clear this sample for your boy. Man,
that would be crazy if that happens. You know what I mean? And it's a dope song. It's called "I Pull Up," man. And I'm super excited for people to hear it. So, but I'm going through that process because, again, even with sync, even though it's not a sample, if we don't get their permission and it ends up in a TV show, you know, it could be a situation.
100%. And I think the interpolation clearance would be a lot easier than actually sampling the master recording. That was my issue. I sampled when I sampled the song I did, I was able to get approval from publishing but getting approval from the label for the mastering end of it was where I was having some issues. It took me like 7 months to get it clear, but we got it done. You know what I'm saying? I had to send a couple of aggressive emails and all that, but we got it done.
So that's what we are now.
But hold on, like interpolations.
Sure.
That's kind of what got Juice WRLD in trouble. If y'all remember, rest in peace. They did an interpolation for Lucid Dreams. They took a Sting song. I forgot the name of the Sting song, but they didn't sample it, but they did the interpolation, and still, without having that done, that paperwork executed up front, I think Sting owns like 85% of that song or something now because of that. So make sure you get your shit together when you start sampling and interpolating stuff, because
you definitely need that, because you're absolutely right. They can sue. They can send a cease and desist letter. I've actually had that happen to me, unfortunately, before, where my very first sync placement was for a Sunny Delight commercial, and we didn't have a sample. There was no interpolation. I got sued by the producer of the track.
What?
Believe it or not. Yeah, the producer who made the track turns around and sued for copyright infringement. I always share this story because as artists, we just want people to like our music, and we really do not, dot our I's and cross our T's when it comes to the business aspect, and we're waiting for somebody else to tell us how to do it.
Come save us.
Ain't nobody coming. Ain't nobody coming, fam. You gonna have to learn how to be your own junior attorney until you get to that point. Your own publisher, your own everything till you get to the point.
Your own marketer, your own manager, your own tour agent, all that.
Right. Because if you wait on somebody else, I'll help you, but it's gonna come with a cost. And so in my case, I made this record called Against the Wall, and it's a big record for me at the time, because it was like one of my first kind of like commercial crossover type records. Because I come from, battle rapping at the lunchroom, like I just told you. So it's kind of a big deal. Like I had something that could finally go on radio. And it was like a year and some change after I make the record that the song ends up through Reverb Nation getting a placement on Sunny Delight. And at the time I was #1 in Chicago in Reverb Nation. And so I was really excited about it. And the producer did not understand his own publishing. He didn't understand how it worked. And so he was like, well, I'm cool with you using a song, but what they used was the instrumental, so that's different. They owe me money. And I'm like, no, it's not different. It's still from the same song. It's from the same masters. But an attorney convinced him to sue. And so they did a cease and desist and pulled the commercial. That was my very first hard lesson about why you need to do everything I just said. Because you don't want to have that happen. Or like you just mentioned with Juice WRLD, or what happened with all those guys with Blurred Lines, same thing. You know what I mean? You get your first success, and then it gets took right underneath you because you didn't check in with the proper channels to get it cleared. So it's all important.
Okay. So did we? I think that was step 2 that we were on, right?
Yes. So step 2 is publishing. Yeah.
Step 3 is how to get the music to the people that actually can pitch it for you. So you have a couple of different entities. You have what are called music libraries, which is just like exactly what it sounds like. It's a company that just has a big collection of music from all over the world in different genres and different time periods. And you're submitting your music to be part of that library. And what they normally do is they play middleman between filmmakers or brands. They'll come to this company and say, I need something that sounds like this. And they'll just go in their library and see if they have it. The step above that, what's better, is if you have a sync agency or a sync rep, which is more like a person It's like being able to actually talk to somebody like an agent, for a sports agency or something. Whereas you're either sending your music to them individually, song by song, they're listening to it song by song, and they're pitching it on your behalf, song by song. And you get, it's a better situation more relationship-wise, but you also sometimes in that situation, you get to see what are called the briefs. So with a music library, You just find out when it gets placed. You don't really know nothing about it.
So let me ask you. So a music library, is that like I see these sites pop up that say you can put your music on there. And then I think on the back end, there are like independent filmmakers that pay subscription to these sites. Correct. And then they'll pick your music to put on one of their films. That's what you mean by like music library? Some
of them work that way from a subscription basis. Some of them are kind of more like negotiated. You know, they just kind of, again, play middleman. Okay. So I have music on something called Artlist, for example. And Artlist works the way you just described, where the clients go and subscribe, and then they have access to everything that's on the platform. Okay. That's not the way to get the most money if you're an artist, but it is certainly a way to get the most exposure, get your music all over the place, and in terms of all these things. And that's called micro syncing, which we can talk, more about micro syncs if you want as well. But most music libraries think of like Song Trader, for example. That's kind of a popular one, or Music Bed is another popular one, where they kind of just negotiate the fee on your behalf, and you don't really got nothing to do with it. You don't even know where it's going most of the time. You either make the placement or you don't, and they send you a check in the mail. But a better situation is when you kind of get the briefs up front, and normally got to work with a sync agent to get that. So the briefs is where they're giving you a short description of like, hey, there's a advertisement company. They're looking for a contemporary pop song or a urban hip hop song. It has to be, and they'll give you all the details of like what they're looking for and give you references for it. And then they'll tell you up front, hey, this is how much they're paying for it. Right. And
so you can know the bag ahead of time.
Yeah, so you know ahead of time, one, where you sent music to, and two, also what you're gonna get from it if you get placed. So you just got a little bit more control over where your music ends up going. You know what I mean? Basically how that works. So, and then the third way, which is the most lucrative and most direct, is if you can talk to the music supervisor or the director of the film or project directly, right? So every TV show, every movie, they all have music supervisors. If you look at the credits, you can see who is a music supervisor on your favorite show in any TV show. Video games also have music supervisors.
So what you saying is I need to get on Black Panther, and look at the credits, Avengers or something, and start following these niggas on Instagram or something.
Actually,
and getting in their DMs.
A better way is go to imbd.com.
Okay.
They do it for you. So they can tell you. You type in a movie, you type in an actor's name, you type in a director. They can tell you who they are, what they got, et cetera, et cetera. And if you got a pro account, you get a pro account, you can see what they have coming up. That's not even used yet.
Really?
Yeah. So then you could play a different game of, hey, I really like your show, let's say Euphoria, for example. I love Euphoria. I love the music you used in it. And there was one episode where you placed hip hop in it, and I thought it was really dope. And I see you working on another show. I'm not sure if y'all need something like that, but I got something like that. So maybe I can send you something,
Yeah.
That's your elevator pitch to the music supervisor. If you can get their attention, that's a much harder hassle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you can get their attention, and you get them in your corner, then you get the situation where there's no middleman. They're working with you directly. They can negotiate with you directly, and there's no fee to pay someone else. But also, you can end up working with them on multiple projects. That's really the dope part about it. Which is what happened to me. I end up having music placed on several different series on NBC because I was working with the music supervisor directly for NBC Universal at the time. So I had songs in Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, Chicago Med, Law and Order, like. All these different shows, because this person knows, hey, if we need this type of music, we just go to him, and he can license it for us quickly, and it's cheaper than calling Kanye or Pharrell or whoever. Right. It's cheaper, so we just work with him. You know what I mean? So
that's dope.
That's step 4. Step 3.
I think that's still 3, ain't it?
Okay, that's still 3. So that's how you get it to the people.
Yeah.
So I guess step 4 should be, what happens next, maybe.
Yeah, because I think now it's to the people. You know what? Here, you go ahead and say what your step 4 is, but I have some follow-up questions to where we are.
Well, one thing I should add, going back to step one, which is what you do with the files. Most people in the industry, in the sync licensing industry, they use some, and I'm not advocating for one thing or another, but they're not going to accept your Spotify links, your SoundCloud links, and they definitely not going to accept your MP3s and waves, because waves are huge, right? So most of them use either Dropbox or another application called disco.ac, disco.ac. You can sign up for that. Or they use something called Box. All of those are different ways that you can share files directly. I use Disco personally because it allows you to make playlists, and then you can just share the link privately or publicly. You can keep track of who opened the link. You can change the playlist. So it's kind of like having a Spotify playlist that people don't need Spotify to use. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then they can download the file directly from there. So after you come from the studio, the songs you want to pitch, you want to put them in Spotify. I'm sorry, you want to put them in Spotify. You want to put them in Disco or Box or something like that where they can click a link and stream it without needing a subscription.
Now, to submit it, do you need the stems, to submit the stems at the same time? Or
No,
stems
come into play if they like it, if they want to use it, right?
Okay.
They can tell you the stems. Just have them on deck if you can. It's not always possible, so sometimes you just don't have them. But if you have the acapella, sometimes they ask for acapella, but normally the regular version, the clean version, and the instrumental version is enough for you to submit it.
Okay.
And if they like it, then they'll ask for all these additional versions.
Okay.
So I wanted to clarify that because I don't want nobody out there finding somebody on IMBD and sending them 30 emails with a bunch of MP3s and be like, Sycosis told me to flood your inbox. Like, nah, I ain't tell you that, man. So don't do that. But step 4, I guess, which is the last one, is like, so what happens once you do this? It's a numbers game, right? So nothing's guaranteed. It's not like it's guaranteed. It's very small percentage of times where you're going to get synced. So that means the people who get synced the most, they make a lot of music, right? They just make music a lot. And if you're a producer, sync is definitely for you. If you're an artist, it's different because you got to find somebody to make beats for you, or you got to have a budget to afford the beats. But if you're a producer, you don't even need an artist. You can sync instrumentals all day long. And so sync is definitely should be appealing to producers because you don't need anybody to make a song on your work. But once you get it out there, once you do get a sync, that's what I was saying earlier of, I've been upping my production to increase my chance to make it more likely. And that once I do get a sync that I'm verified with, that becomes my rollout. So now that I know the song is going to be placed, and usually I know where it's going to be placed, and if I'm lucky, I even know when it's going to be placed, I can now develop my own independent campaign behind this song and then let TV do all of the promoting for me.
That's smart as hell. Okay. So like, just say for instance, you knew you had a song for like something like Grey's Anatomy, right? You like, okay, this shit on my album too. You know what I'm saying? Once they drop that episode, I'm gonna drop the video and I'm gonna go. Okay, that's really smart.
Because not just to become a dope like promo strategy. It's the one thing that none of us artists have. We all broke, right? When you start, I don't care who you are, you broke. You rapping about money, and it's the crazy paradox ever.
Bro, don't tell.
But you don't have a way to make money unless you go to work every day, which is going to take away from your artistry and being able to create. 2, you got some sort of trust fund, which most of us don't. Or 3, you actually in the streets doing the goofy shit you're talking about, and then even if you do make it, you're gonna get locked up. So sync provides you the option that doesn't involve signing away all your publishing or your masters, which your record label is going to be. That's the only other way anybody can afford this. Sync provides you the money because a sync can be anywhere from $500 to $500,000 for one placement, for one song. And then guess what? You can license that same song again and again and again.
Oh,
new songs again and again and again.
Okay, damn. Okay, so that's a big thing. So just because I keep using Grey's Anatomy, but just if I got a song on Grey's,
hey, if you trying to tell me something, bro, just go ahead and say it, man.
The reason I use Grey's Anatomy because I talked to somebody who did a song for Grey's Anatomy. It was like the season finale. He said they play like a minute and a half of his song, and he was just talking about he's still seeing that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's still eating off that.
$10.
So I'm like, all right. So if any show, Chicago Med, whatever. Then where was I going with this? If my song is on there, and then like just randomly the next Mortal Kombat or whatever is coming out, they can use the same song. There's no restrictions for the amount of times that my song can be licensed between shows, even if it's like I guess Paramount or Pixar. Like they don't have like company beefs or company restrictions in that regard. Where
no, you can license the same song as many times as possible. The only restriction, and I guess I should add this to when you get into the people, if you send your music to a music library or to a sync agency, they do have two different kinds of contracts. And you do got to pay attention to that. They have exclusive and non-exclusive. And so that just means if you agree to assign your songs to them exclusively, that means they are the only agency who can pitch it for you. So that means you might have to go back through them to pitch that particular song.
Okay.
But if you have a non-exclusive agreement, you can theoretically, I wouldn't recommend doing this because this is, even though it seems big, Hollywood is actually a small community. So these people know each other. But you could theoretically have one song with 20 different sync agencies and let them fight over who gets it placed first, right? Or you could do what I was saying earlier, you can pitch them yourself, however you do it. But technically, yes, you can license that song. In fact, that's happened to me before where I've had the same song used in the same show, but in different seasons or different episodes. You know what I mean? It might have been episode 3 and then episode 7, and it was 5 seconds in episode 3 and it was 20 seconds in episode 7. And you don't even know it as the viewer. You ain't really noticing that, small thing, and they use it, so that can happen. That definitely can happen.
That's dope. Now you said it could be between $500 and $500,000 to be synced.
So you got a big range. Yeah.
Big range. But do you get royalties on that or residuals if the episode goes to like Netflix or something like that?
Yeah. So that dollar amount I'm telling you, that's called the sync fee. That's the licensing fee. So that's how much the company or the agency or the network is willing to pay up front to license the song. But the real bag, going back to, the publishing conversation step 2, the real bag is all the money you're going to continue to make every quarter from your PRO, right? So those Chicago Fire, Chicago Med, Chicago PD, those aired in 2016, all right? 2016 is when I got those aired. However, ASCAP sends a royalty check every quarter that'll still have at least a couple of dollars coming from those TV shows, right?
Nice.
You can still make several $1,000s a year for your old back catalog for stuff that's already placed. And then again, there's nothing stopping you from getting it placed again, and you just increase that revenue every time.
That's dope. That's dope.
So you get residuals, and especially now since everything's streaming, shows that were old or on air, even if they cancel, you still can get royalties because people can find it and stream it, through, Disney or Netflix or wherever it may end up, even if the show isn't actively on the air anymore.
Right. That's dope. You mentioned sync agencies.
Sure.
How does one person get themselves ready? Like, what would make me attractive to a sync agent?
You regurgitate as much of this stuff I just said in lingo. They're going to look for keywords, right? So it's like starting a new job. One of the most annoying things about starting new jobs, you come in and they got all these acronyms and people talking to you like, bro, what are you talking about? How does that work? Sync is the same way. So they'll pick up pretty quickly if you understand these acronyms. So PRO, that means ASCAP or BMI. STEMs, they're gonna talk to you in all the terms that you need to know, the WAV file, the AIF file. But most importantly, they're gonna use a term. They're gonna ask you, is it one stop or is it easy clear? That is the most attractive thing you can tell a sync agent. What does that mean? That means I've already did the split sheets. I've already registered the songs. I already have the songs that you need, and I am the only person you need to talk to license this song. That's something you want to have written into your split sheet. That whoever, maybe it's the main artist, or maybe all of the artists involved, or all of the writers involved, all have that ability to pitch it. You know, usually that's what we do. Mm-hmm. So as long as it's non-exclusive and you're not putting us in an exclusive agreement, everybody here got the ability to pitch it. And so if you can say that there's one stop, their eyes get real big because they're happy to hear that. I don't got to talk to nobody but you, Ron. Bet. Send me everything you got. That's what they're going to want to know.
Okay.
So that's one of the ways you do it. The other way you do it is some of these brands want, you know, generic music, if you will. You know, some of them want, think of advertisements, right? Almost every advertisement is some happy, you know, bubblegum popcorn type song, right? But some brands want more authentic. They want it to be from a recognizable name. So some of them want you to be a real artist that they can find. So the other thing that helps is, do you have an actual artist website? Or you're a producer, do you have a producer website? Do you have an active social media? Do you have music already on Spotify? How many monthly listens? Are people already checking you out? Are you performing? So if you have an EPK to go along with the dope music, that helps, because then it's easier for them to sell you, because they can say, hey, this is why this song should be here, because not only is the song good, this artist is already really good. Okay. And you don't have to be famous. That's probably the most important thing I can say about Sync. Like, if you look me up on Instagram right now, I got less than 4,000 followers. But I'm able to do stuff that famous people can't do. You know, because some of these famous people have signed contracts and they don't have the ability to license their own music. They don't know they don't own the masters. They don't understand their own publishing. They don't know the splits or the points, and they don't know the lingo. So you don't have to be famous. You just need to know what you're talking about and have good music, and then you can make it work. Okay.
Owning the masters. That's That's people hear that term a lot. Do you want to just expand on what the masters are so people can understand what it is?
So I think, you know, if you were born, you know, in the 80s and 90s era, and you were trying to get on, right? We always trying to get on and try to get famous and try to get a record deal. At that point, the record deal was the goal. In 2023, you have the ability to be the label. You should be the label. As a matter of fact, labels don't care about you until you already profitable. Mm-hmm. So you have to do everything a label would do, and I think that's a misconception artists don't understand, because they thinking like, all I got to do is define me as an artist, and then again, somebody's gonna come along, a manager, or somebody's gonna come along and discover me, which is it's possible, but it's unlikely. You have to discover you, and you have to move like a label will move. So you can start your own LLC, start your own business, start your own publishing company, sign yourself to yourself, and do all of this stuff. And that used to be a novel idea, but now it's not. It's literally something you can do. So,
and just to stop you real quick, if you do those steps and make yourself a business, all this studio time and all these videos you spending money on, all that shit is a write-off. It's a tax write-off.
Yes, it's tax season.
But go ahead.
Yeah, and I write them off too. So anyway, owning your master just means that you are. Well, let's back up. There's who owns the copyright, right? We talked a little bit about before, and that has to do with sampling and giving people permission to use it or perform it. Then there's owning the publishing, who's actually getting credit / paid to be the writer and performer for this song. And there's owning a master, which means you have the ability to decide where it's going to go. And that's one of the biggest things you see nowadays. A lot of artists selling their music catalogs. Why are these people being paid $300 million to sell their catalog? Well, they're selling a master, so they're selling the digital or physical version, but they're really selling the ability to put that music anywhere that owner wants. So that means we could put it in a commercial, we could put it in a video game, we could turn it into an NFT, we could sell it to Fortnite and then make a dance out of it and make a character you can download in a skin that you can upgrade and buy. They're thinking about all the ways they can monetize your music. So you're not just making music, you're we're in a whole society where everything we say and do could be monetized. So owning the masters is very important, or at least having partial ownership of your masters is very important, so that you have the ability to dictate where it's going to go and have the ability to get paid from it beyond the normal route.
So just so everyone understands, what he just said is basically when we bring it back full circle. In the beginning, when you talked about how you do your splits for sync, everybody that you partner with has a share of the master ownership. Therefore, they are allowed to pitch it on their own to these different outlets potentially, right?
Sure. Okay. It also gives them a stake in the song, right? Because when you're an artist, every song you make is going to be a hit to you, right? And the producers, which what happened with me, the guy I got sued by, he was giving me a track that nobody else wanted. And I did my thing on it, and then it suddenly became attractive once it was clear somebody wanted it, right? But you give people a stake in the song, and now the song is important because it's an asset. It's like business, right? Because besides being an artist, I'm a real estate agent. So I do contracts and business all day long. You can see from my shirt, rap and real estate. Like, that's me all day long. It's either music or houses or both, and it's very similar how they work. But giving everybody a stake in the master or a stake in the publishing gives them a stake in the song. And, hey, this is serious, and we all own a piece of this, right? And so, therefore, you should care what happens. You're going to be on top of it. You're going to respond to this email because you're getting paid. For artists that can't afford a lot of money up front, you could use that to leverage with producers. Hey, listen, I really love your beats. I can only buy 2 of them right now. But I tell you what, maybe I'll give you, 50s, maybe I'll give you somewhere between 5 and 50% of this song, and we're going to do it in the publishing. Because a lot of producers just sell beats or license them outright, and they cut themselves out the publishing.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
A lot of producers need to hear this too. They don't know nothing about this either. So you can use that and leverage your relationship, because even with producers, if they know you're serious and they know what publishing is, then only reason why that matters is the people that plan on getting it on radio or TV. So that's a way to leverage your relationships, and sometimes you might be able to get a discount or somebody not charge you for this or that, or be willing to go the extra mile to send you those stems in the middle of the night so you can get this TV placement because they know you for real. You know what I mean? So it's important for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, I was driving Uber that one time you hit me, and I was like, I got my laptop in the trunk. I will stop right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it's totally different. It's real and not some bullshit. Like, we ain't just look, bro. I ain't trying to waste your time. It's a real option. If we can do it, we can do it.
Yeah,
and that changes everything. When people know you're serious and also know what you're talking about, that's gonna cap your talent every time. I feel like I'm one of the most talented artists, but my talent is not why these people work with me. It's the ability to have a conversation with them about business. That's why they want to work with you. The talent is the bonus.
Right, and then the track record, the work ethic that comes along. You know what I'm saying? Because it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to do it and be about it. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. And I think that's gonna get people far. Like, I see that shit all the time. Like a lot of people, a lot of artists want to get there. They want to be bigger than what they are, but they can't generate opportunities for themselves. You know what I'm saying? I think that's just the hard thing. The good thing is, sync, you could just make music as long as you get your paperwork right. Like, who owns it. You can send it off. You can find a sync agent. You can upload it to, I forget what you call it, a media library.
Music library or
music library.
There's 2 sync agencies in Chicago I want to shout out real quick.
Okay.
And I have music with both of them. One of them is called What Up Pitches. They have an office in Chicago and LA, and the other one is called Groove Garden. So if you're in Chicago and you're watching this and you're going, well, where the hell do I start? Those are some agencies that you can reach out to. Tell them Sycosis sent you. But they'll be an active person you can talk to. They'll walk you through the process. Super cool people. Both of these agencies are run by women, and they really want to see us win. So actually, What Up Pitches has an event coming up in April, I think. You can actually come to and learn about sync. And also where you are, you know, they do a lot of different where the studio is, I should say.
Yeah,
A lot of
2112.
Yeah, 2112. They do a lot of education about sync. So it's not always easy depending on what part of the country you in, but luckily now because of the digital era, you can do all this online. But if you're able to get to one of these conferences or at least set up a Zoom meeting with a sync agent, that definitely will open your eyes up. I also want to shout out Sus3 Music, SUS3, and Control Camp. I'll put that out there. Control Camp is a good place to learn and start. That's CTRLcamp.com. Shout out to my brother Eric over there at Control Camp. But Control Camp is a dope place where people who are like trying to process everything I just said over the last hour. Mm-hmm. They don't know where to start and they need questions answered. That's why I recommend you go. Go to Control Camp. They got resources on there, give you step by step, but it's also people like you on there. Producers from all over the world, artists from all over the world that get on there. And then he also posts briefs. So you can actually pitch directly to briefs that are there. So, you know, shout out to them. Shout out to Painted Faces. I just gave you guys a couple of places y'all can research and, you know, get your music journey started with sync.
Yeah, that's dope, man. I definitely appreciate the gems. So I think the last thing that I was going to say, because we were getting into just the different outlets, I guess, in which you can get your music. One of them being music libraries. I keep calling it music libraries. Sure. You can go to a sync agent, or
sync
you can.
Agent. Or the music supervisor directly.
You can stalk the music supervisor and get their information and message them directly. There you have it. Happy syncing.
Oh, one thing. Here's another resource. By the way, there are music conferences. There's a big one called Durango that's about to happen next month. Some of these sync conferences cost thousands of dollars. We give you a lot of free games right now. So take advantage of this free game or share it, tag somebody in it who needs to know this. What I was about to say was there's another website called TuneFind. And in TuneFind, you can type in the name of the TV show you were watching and see the songs that were played in that episode. So you can find music, or you can type in an artist and see if they have music. So if you go to TuneFind and type my name in, you'll see places it's been on TV. But you can go through, and our reason why that'd be kind of good, especially for producers and artists, is that in sync, like everything else, is sort of formulaic. So your best chance of getting sync is finding songs that were placed in TV already and seeing which one's the closest to what you do, and then finding the themes that they use. So I was mentioning Control Camp a second ago. There's literally a whole list of like music themes and things people talk about and things you should research and things you should say and cool keywords, and then use that in your like integrate it slowly into your music. You know, find your happy medium, but then also go find what's already being placed, right? What are they already using? What did they use in the Black Panther trailer? You know what I mean? What artists? What kind of singers? What kind of vocals? What kind of mix? If you're an engineer or producer, what kind of saturation? What kind of plugins are they using on these songs? Mm-hmm. When I listen to them, what kind of mix are they doing? And what most importantly for producers, what kind of structure? Because it's not 16-bar verses like artists maybe you're used to rapping to. They're doing totally different song structure. They're not 3-minute songs. They might be a minute and a half. You know what I mean? So do as much research as you can, and then make this a lot easier for yourself.
Yeah, because I know for me, like I want to get into sync. We had this conversation before. Yeah. I think all the information that's out there sometimes, just knowing that there's so much, it can seem and feel overwhelming.
Absolutely.
And just so people know, you've been doing this for how long?
I started rapping when I was 12. I made my first mixtape / album when I was 15. But sync was about 7 years ago. 8 years ago, where I got my first placement, that Sunnyville Light commercial. Okay. That I was talking about. And I've had a dozen or so TV placements, but I've had thousands of micro syncs, which we were talking about earlier. So a micro sync is, instead of television or film or radio, it might be something smaller, like a YouTube channel, for example. Like if you're playing YouTube channel, you got music in your Twitch stream, that could be a micro sync. If you got a video, a channel where you upload episodes or maybe they skits, you might want music intro and outro. That could be a micro sync. Instagram, TikTok, those could be micro syncs.
So the song that I played at the beginning of this episode, was that be considered a micro sync?
That absolutely can be.
Okay.
Their publishing company can try to collect royalties on behalf of it, or they could send a cease and desist letter and say you don't have permission to use this music.
That'd be crazy because that's part of my song. So
but yeah, so you can do that when you own it. But I guess my point is, there's a lot of content creators that are content creators. They're not music libraries. They're not musicians. But everybody uses music to sell their product, right? Right. Or to get you to watch or listen or whatever. Even if it's just at the beginning, think of Joe Budden podcast. Even if it's just the first 5 minutes, I'm playing music. He's licensing every one of those songs in his podcast. It's not just Charlemagne's doing the same thing. Everybody who's doing a podcast, they're licensing it, or they should be. And that's a way you're going to get paid. You can have your music in video games, which I've had some video games. You can have it all over the place. So I have thousands of micro syncs all over the world, which can be just as lucrative, but probably more importantly can help with your artist presence, because you're getting these placements all over the world, and a percentage of those people go back and they become fans of you. They're like, yeah, I came here, I was watching, this Modern Warfare, walkthrough video, and they happen to be blasting this song, Vainglorious by Sycosis. Who is Sycosis? And they end up streaming me on Spotify. So
that's dope. And is your agent getting you these micro syncs, or is it the music libraries?
Usually that's through one of the libraries that I have music. Sometimes they directly hit me up and ask, can they use it, and ask a fee, just like a feature or whatever. Mm-hmm. But usually it's through the music library, and they just send me a check at the end of the year, and we just do it again the next year.
Dope.
Dope. But those are all different avenues, and I think a lot of them are way more effective and more lucrative than what we normally do. Than what we normally do as artists. We normally are like chasing the popularity and the clout and trying to be as famous as we can be. And I think leveraging your relationship with a company or a brand is way more effective. It's more lucrative. It's going to get you more money. It's going to get you more recognition. And it's going to help you build a resume. Because then you can say, like, what have you done? If your goal is to get to the label, you can still go to the label and say that. Hey, look what we already did. We already got people that's rocking with us. It ain't on the radio yet, but look at all these places. And that still counts. Because at the end of the day, they want their money. So they go, oh, we can make $100 million off of you by helping you get your music and TikTok's cool. We'll do that, whatever. So
yeah, damn.
Those are all options,
That's dope. That's dope, man. I know we are getting to time, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and handle your business, man. But I definitely appreciate you coming on today. Hella gems that you drop, man. Hella gems. I feel like I'm way more knowledgeable about sync. Every time I talk to you, I feel like I gain some more knowledge. I go back into the world with that knowledge, and then I get overwhelmed by like all the process, and then we get back here. But this time it's documented, it's recorded, so I can go back and make my notes and try to get something started, man. I really do appreciate you coming on though to share your gems.
Absolutely, man. Anybody who wants to stay in touch with me, you could definitely follow me on social media at Sycosis, SYCOSIS. You can also check out my website, sycosismusic.com. You can vote for me right now on my website for that 312 Music Awards we was talking about earlier. I think voting goes through mid-February. So vote for Mostly Me 3. And you can find Mostly Me and all of my albums on all platforms from Pandora to Spotify to YouTube. So we out here, man. We out here. And right. And some of your favorite TV shows and films have used some of my music, believe it or not. So it could be you. If you're an artist or aspiring, definitely tap into sync. I highly recommend.
Dope, man. All right, well, that's it, man. Episode 2 is in the wraps, man. Again, appreciate you. Go follow Sycosis. Go get on your sync game. We out.
Salute.
Yeah. Let them know the leaks so loud. I go based on tunes. Let them know me can't call. I can never bake that juice. Want it, tell them I want it, 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 I want it. Tell them I want it, I want it, I want it, I want it, I want it.